Good morning, guys.
Welcome back, guys. Today we are with Jess, who work for Breez, is a Lightning developer. Um, Here, I show you the Breez Twitter. Uh, I guess everyone has a Breez, the application, the Breez wallet. We sponsored so much during those months, and yeah, I hope you have it. Today's session will be about Breeze SDK, and actually could be also very helpful for your project you're doing about the Lightning application you are developing. So I hope that could be very helpful for you. And yeah, thank you, Jess, for being here. I pass the word to you.
Thank you. Yeah, if you can share the screen for my
Yeah,
presentation. And
sure.
so today I will introduce you to the Breeze SDK. I'll explain what the SDK is and why it's a breakthrough for a non-custodial Lightning experience. I'll do a demo in the end where we create a user-facing app that integrates Lightning payments on mainnet with some live coding. Um, Yeah, and before we get started, I would just want to mention that there's mostly room for questions, probably during the demo or after the presentation. I'll take a look at the chat. If there's something you don't understand, just drop a message in the chat, and then I'll know that I'm not explaining things very well. Um, Start with the purpose of Breeze, right? We've got the Lightning Network today, and it works very well, right? You can send payments very easily. We really are at the point where we need to make a network effect on top of the Lightning Network. And by creating interfaces to this Lightning Network and the Lightning economy, Breeze wants to open up the world to peer-to-peer payments for people and apps. If we're going to talk about Breeze SDK, we'll probably have to start with the Breeze app, because I guess you know about the Breeze app from the app on your phone, which is a Lightning-only product. It's non-custodial. The app runs an LND node inside your phone, basically, to provide this non-custodial Lightning experience. And it's got some features like streaming sats to podcasters with value for value payments. And it's got a easy-to-use point-of-sale interface where a user, basically anything you need if you want to sell something inside your shop. But the main takeaway of the Breeze app for this presentation is the ease of use of the app itself. Basically, the ability to use Lightning without having to be a Lightning expert. You don't have to know anything about channels or liquidity. You just install the app and you're able to receive and send payments straight away. All the liquidity management inside the app is done by Lightning service providers or LSPs. I'll explain more about LSPs in a second, because it's a term. Some people use it mean different things when they say LSP. But this talk, however, is not about the Breeze app. It's about the Breeze SDK. And it might be confusing to some people because that's how you know Breeze. But now you know this is about a new product called the Breeze SDK, and it's totally unrelated to the app, except for the experience we had with running the app, and now we know what's necessary in order to create a non-custodial Lightning experience. So, what do we want? We want Lightning to be integrated into your day-to-day activities, right? Have a frictionless experience with your non-custodial money, with the freedom to spend it as you wish. We basically want to realize a peer-to-peer circular economy with Bitcoin. We want to bring Bitcoin to everybody. And that means that every application will also integrate Lightning payments. So not just Breeze or wallet apps, but also apps to buy your coffee or your groceries, or charge your car, rent a movie or rent a bike. Basically, any app will integrate Lightning payments in this vision of the future. But how do we get there? Let me see. So on the road to that vision, there will be developers integrating Lightning payments into their applications. And you know developers, right? You probably are developers. If you're passionate about something, you will go for it and you will work nights, you will go uninterrupted on a coffee streak. But if it's something you don't care about and it's difficult, then you just procrastinate and move on to other things at some point. So someone passionate about Bitcoin, they will create a Bitcoin app. But someone who's passionate about podcasting or rentals or newspapers, they will only integrate Lightning payments if it's very, very, very easy to do so. So that's what we need. In order to be able to use Lightning everywhere, we need to make integrating Lightning payments very easy. Because if we win the developers, we win the world. And that's the point of Breez SDK. It's a software development kit, and it's aimed at making implementing Lightning payments into your applications extremely simple. The SDK contains a fully featured set of options to facilitate these Lightning payments that is end-to-end. Basically anything you need in order to provide a Lightning experience, it's in the SDK based on Breez's experience running non-custodial app. Like liquidity, on-chain interoperability, third-party fiat on-ramps, also like not just the Lightning parts, but also the edges of the Lightning parts, basically. Multiple apps, they can share the same balance now, so it's different than you don't have a balance on Stacker News and a balance on LB or all these different applications. But you have a single balance because they interact with the same user node, and that way you get the same experience as in the fiat system, where you would also have like a single balance on your credit card. You don't have another balance in your Uber and another balance in your newspaper app, but you have one single balance in that credit card system, and it's the same way with Breez SDK. I will explain later how that works. The user holds their own keys, so the SDK is non-custodial, it's trustless. Only the user has possession to its funds. And that also means like KYC, for example, is out of the question because it's just a non-custodial option. And probably the most important thing is it's effortless. It's really, really easy to implement Lightning payments into your apps with the Breez SDK, and we'll prove that to you in a second. You basically interact with the SDK as Lightning as a service. And so where the Breez app made using Lightning easy, the Breez SDK makes developing apps that integrate Lightning payments extremely easy. Yeah, I'll go over how that works, and then I'll prove to you that it's really easy to create an app with Breez SDK. This is the main components of the SDK. Each end user of an application that's built on top of Breez SDK gets their own personal user node, and we chose Greenlight. I'll explain more on Greenlight later, what it is. In order to connect the user to the Lightning network, just like an ISP connects you to the internet, an LSP connects you to the Lightning network and provides liquidity in order for you to be able to receive and send payments. The SDK, it's focused on Lightning. We do provide on-chain interoperability through submarine swaps. So you send funds from Lightning to on-chain and receiving funds from on-chain into your Lightning channels. And on top of that, there's a fiat on and off ramp that provides an easy onboarding experience into Bitcoin for new and existing users as well. So let's put that into a picture. Here we have the perspective of one end user of the Breez SDK. So you got Lightning developers that will implement Breez SDK into their apps, and then users will use these apps. And here you see a picture of what it looks like from one of these users that uses an app that was built on Breez SDK. The end user will probably not know what Breez SDK is. Only the app developers do. But this is what the infrastructure looks like. The user gets his own personal node, Lightning node in the cloud on Greenlight. And multiple apps are connected to this same end user node through the Breez SDK, where the user's device contains the keys. Like these keys are, this key over here is pretty important. The key is not on the Lightning node, but it's over here. I'll explain more on that in the next slide. And then the user node is connected to the broader Lightning network through Lightning service providers. So let's get into this part. So I'll go into this part first. So for the user node on Greenlight, for the user node, we chose Greenlight. And it's a product made by Blockstream, where you get a Lightning node in the cloud, but you hold the keys on your own device. And you can see Greenlight as the infrastructure provider for hosting a Lightning node, right? Because hosting a node is a specialized business, and you don't want newcomers to have to think about database security, networking security, and firewalls and upgrades and all these things. And so Greenlight takes that away from you. And what you get on Greenlight is your own personal node on Greenlight. So you're not using like their node to send payments. The end user gets his own node on the Greenlight infrastructure. This key is very important. The keys are on the client side here, and that's what makes this a non-custodial Lightning experience. Let me see where I'm at. You generate your seed locally, basically. Then with that seed, you initialize your personal node on the Greenlight infrastructure through the Breez SDK. And for every operation that Greenlight needs a signature, so anything that touches your funds, anything for sending or receiving, Greenlight will have to communicate with one of these apps in order to get the signature and actually receive or send payments. So Greenlight actually can do anything with the user funds, only the user can. So if you know that the user has multiple apps here connecting to that same user's Greenlight node, and this is what allows them to have a single balance on their node, right? So to get that credit card-like feeling of managing your funds, every app is just the same. They all communicate with your own balance. This signing is done by the Breez SDK itself. If you're, as a developer, implement the Breez SDK, you don't have to think about the signing. The Breez SDK will make sure that these payments are all signed for you when sending or receiving a payment. And these apps, they can do simple payments functionality, but they can also do very complex features. You can basically do anything that's possible on the Lightning Network today, but the basic cases we make very, very easy for you to use. And some goodness that comes with this compared to running a full app on your phone is that also data storage and bandwidth are dropped to a minimum for these apps, because they don't have to do like the entire chain sync and the graph storage, because that's all done on the Greenlight side of things. And it's also much better suited for a multi-app scenario, because apps on your phone, they can't really communicate with each other very well. But now they can interact with the same backend, and that is much more suitable for the app model on your phones. So that's one part of the SDK, and the other main part is the LSPs, Lightning Service Providers. So the LSPs, they connect your personal user node to the broader Lightning network. It's a liquidity provider for your user's node. So whenever you run out of inbound liquidity, but you want to receive a payment, the Breez SDK will request a just-in-time channel from your LSP. And that means that when you receive the payment, on that moment, a Lightning channel will be open to your node on the fly. And that way you'll never have to worry about liquidity again because it's out of the box. So when you're developing applications with the Breez SDK, you get all of this out of the box. Breez is collaborating with other Lightning service providers to speak the same protocol. So it doesn't matter which LSP you use, and all these LSPs, they speak the same protocol, so they're interchangeable. With companies, for example, like C equals and Synonym, they are working on a LSP specification for this. So the user or probably the app developer can choose the LSP that it likes. If you want, you can look at github.com/Bitcoin and Lightning Layer specs/LSP and have a look there, because we're making these specifications for LSPs, and we really want people to review these to see if we're doing a good job on these specifications. So, little recap: the user will end up with one node in the cloud with a single balance, and many apps, they communicate with that node to facilitate payments. Greenlight is the node infrastructure, and the LSPs, Lightning service providers, they connect you to the Lightning network through Lightning channels, and they provide liquidity in your channels. So now, if you would create an app or a podcasting app, you would have this podcasting app created by people passionate about podcasting, and they'll use this structure in order to send these value for value payments. It's really easy for them because they don't have to be a Lightning expert to have this entire structure in place. They can just use the Breez SDK, develop their podcasting app, and all the Lightning complexities are managed for them. So this is a more technical picture of the SDK. We've touched most parts already. I just want to mention a few things. Like LN URL is included too from a sender perspective, so you can send to an LN URL or a Lightning address, for example, too. And what we're also working on is notifications. So, for example, you would get a notification if you're about to receive a payment, so the app can wake up and receive the payment, and then the app can go back to sleep again, because you have to be online in order to receive a payment. That's one way we're trying to tackle that problem. So I've got a bit of a cough. Other than that, like, this is not set in stone. You can plug in your own things everywhere. Everything is open source and free, and you're not vendor locked to any part of the Breez SDK. For example, this Greenlight part, we're also thinking about creating another option for that built with LDK, for example. And you can do any part of you want. You can just interchange, and we actually want you to do that, right? Take the code, run away with it, and do something good with it. The languages we currently support are Swift, Kotlin, Rust, Go, React Native, Flutter, and C#. And there's going to be more languages. So if you have a language that's not in here, then we could probably create bindings for your language as well if you want to start building on top of Breez SDK. Okay, a lot of talk, but let's build an app and see how easy it actually is to use. And if there's any questions in the meantime, like do put them in the chat over here, then I know there's people around here. Okay, so I made a little demo. I'm just going to run this demo over here. What I did is I created a little bit of a user interface, and what we're going to do is we're going to implement actual Lightning payments into this user interface. And it will show up in a second probably. So this is going to be a user-facing app, and this user will have its own balance on Greenlight basically. And currently there's no Lightning integration in here yet, so there's no integration with the Breez SDK. I'm going to walk you through how it works implementing payments in this app. So I made this very easy user interface. What it's got your balance. It's currently on -1 sat, and we'll touch on that later, why it's -1 sat. There's a receive button which will show you an invoice to pay, and there's a send button where you can paste in an invoice, and if you click OK, then we'll pay the invoice. So that's what the user interface looks like. And now I'll start integrating the Breez SDK. So first I'm going to add a dependency to the SDK. This is a Flutter project, by the way, so just basically took the default Flutter app and adjusted it a little bit to have these buttons in here. So I just added a dependency to the Breez SDK. I've got it on my local system now, just because it's easier for me because I've got the SDK on my system anyway. And I'm going to go through a couple of things, because what we want to do is we want to set up a node in Greenlight. We want to receive a payment, send the payment, and show the balance. These are the things we want to do. So I'm going to walk you through how that would look like. I'm going to replace this code with something I pasted in here right now. Oh yeah, let me go to the main method. So first, there's just some logging. So later we will be able to see some logging, like we're having an active connection to the Greenlight node. And before starting the app, we're going to initialize the Breez bridge. And Breez bridge, basically everywhere where you see Breez bridge, that is where we're interacting with the SDK itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to first check whether we have already created a seed. And if we have created a seed, then we're going to, apparently we have already created a node. So we're going to connect to that existing node. And if this is the first time running the app, we're going to initialize a new node. And initializing a new node on Greenlight looks like this. We generate our mnemonic. And then with that mnemonic, we're going to register a node on Greenlight. If you want to connect to Greenlight, you need currently a Greenlight invite code. And one invite code maps to one node, basically. They want to do that to make sure that if they change something or they make breaking changes, they'll be able to contact you. So they couple these invite codes with people. And this line is basically all you need to initialize your node on Greenlight. And after we've registered the node, we're going to persist. Our seed that we created on our local file system. So that's for creating a new node on Greenlight. And if we want to connect to an existing node, we will call the SDK. Breez bridge is the SDK in its services, and that will initialize some services in the background for us to communicate with the node and with the LSP, for example. And we pass the credentials that we already had persisted on our device. Because if you run the app for the first time, you generate a new mnemonic, and if you close the app and run it the second time, you wanted to reuse that same mnemonic, so you have access to the same node again. So that's for starting the Breez bridge, and after that we are going to start the node. Because these green light nodes are not always on, they are only on when you actually connect to them. That's the way the green light infrastructure works. These nodes, they are very smart in their node CPU usage, basically. But yet they initialize a node in 0.5 seconds, so it's basically instant. So that's for initializing a node on Greenlight. Now what we want to do is we've got this receive dialog here, and this is, I'll show you. Where is it? So here's a receive dialog, and this invoice that we're showing here is just a random string. So we want to actually contact our Greenlight node and create an invoice there. Let me copy some code in there as well. So it's a couple of lines of code in order to receive a payment through the Breez SDK. I'm going to explain this part a little bit later. No, the other part. I'm going to explain this part a little bit later. And what we're going to do is we're going to call the SDK and call receive payment, which is going to create an invoice for us. We're just going to use a fixed amount for this demo and a description. And then when we've created the invoice, we're going to update our UI and set the invoice to the actual invoice that we created in this call. And then on error, we just log something to the console. We don't worry about errors right now because everything just works, right? So that's for creating an invoice. And then we want to know whether the invoice was paid. So we listen to the invoice paid stream. And basically, if this invoice, if an invoice was paid, we get an event over here. And if it's our invoice, like the one we just created in the screen, then we will just go back to this main screen over here. So that's the navigator part. So that's all you need for receiving a payment. So we'll continue and go to the send payment dialog, which is this one. I'm going very fast through this. I hope that's okay. It's just a little demo on how easy it is to send and receive payments through the Breez SDK. So we're going to go to this send payment dialog. Let's go. And when you press the OK button, we want you to pay the invoice that's in the text box over there. So when you press the OK button, we'll just go update our UI so it shows a loading spinner. And then we're going to call the SDK again. And we're going to call send payment to whatever is in this text box over here. So the invoice is whatever is in the text box. And then when it's paid, we just go back to the main screen again. And if it errors, then we just print something to the console. So that's all you need in order to send the payment. And now we've implemented registering a node, receiving a payment, sending a payment, and now we want to update this balance over here. So let's go. And I'm going to add a little function here. Whenever you see the home page, it will listen to the node state stream. So we're calling the Breez bridge again, which is the SDK. We're listening to the node state stream. And whenever there's an update in the balance, we update the balance on our UI over here. We basically say whatever we can pay, that's our balance. And this is in millisatoshis, so we just divide it by 1,000, so we show it in satoshis over here. And this balance is now -1. And the reason this is -1 is Well, basically because then we can see when we've actually connected to the green light node. Because when we've actually connected to the green light node, then you will see, and we've actually created the green light node, then you will see that the balance will change to 0. So let's run the app and just pray that everything works, right? Yeah, this usually takes a little while. So what we've done is registering a node. That will happen when we actually start the app. And listening to the balance, that will also happen when we actually start the app. And receiving and sending a payment, that will happen when we actually click some buttons. We'll just show that moves. I'll just open some things over here so I can actually send invoices as well. There we go. Okay, so the app starts. And now this little piece of code is going to run. Oh. So this little piece of code is going to run, which is going to start the. It's basically going to register a new node in the Greenlight cloud. And so you see the balance is -1 sat, and when this code has actually run, then we should see that the balance goes to 0. Here you see in the logging over here, you see that we're actually connecting to a node and it's doing some stuff, really initializing it. And now you see we've actually initialized the node on Greenlight. So we've got our actual balance in here. So now we need to receive a payment before we can send something. So we create an invoice. So this is a mainnet invoice, by the way. So if someone really wants to pay this, you can. It's a 20,000 sat invoice. So if you want, I'll give you a couple of seconds to pay it if you want. Just pop a message in the chat if you actually if you actually are about to pay it, because otherwise I will.
I'll show you some comments.
Yeah. I see the receiving a payment with only a few lines of code. Yeah, exactly, because the SDK is real easy to use. The Greenlight works on Signet too. We've got it's basically able to set up on most environments. We usually are pretty reckless and we use mainnet for testing. But yeah, I'm going to pay the invoice now, right? So it's just and testnet. Yeah, these things are different. Testnet is not possible with the LSPs. We don't run Lightning Service Provider infrastructure on testnet. But if you spin up something for yourself, you can run something on your local machine for Webtest or Signet. So you can definitely.
Yeah, because basically the students are on those days are working on a project where they have to implement Lightning on a service like whatever, like an e-commerce or like micropayments for content, video or whatever. And yeah, they're trying doing it in Signet and Testnet, and so that's the reason. Yeah. I guess they're asking. I was trying also to pay the
Okay,
invoice,
so I'll
but
just
it doesn't allow. It's too little, and probably the resolution is not.
I just press the button for paying the invoice, and now you see that a bunch of stuff happening. There's our signer is running on our phone, actually signing messages in order to receive the payment, and then you see that the balance actually updated. So I've now received the payment on mainnet in just a couple of lines of code. So what just happened, right? First of all, we saw that we already initialized our node on Greenlight. When we received this payment, the Lightning service provider opened a just-in-time channel to our node. So it opened the Lightning channel on the fly, and that's how we were able to receive this payment. So now let me just get the last. Let me create an invoice over here and send that to my computer. So we can show the send payment part as well. Yeah, so for the sending the payment was also just a couple of lines of code, right? Let me go to the code for sending a payment. Over here. Yeah, basically just call a function called send payment. And if I paste this invoice in here, and then open my phone so I can receive the payment. We've got an error. I've probably not copied the thing very well. So I've totally done no error handling in this thing. So probably have to restart and in order to do the send payment thing. I probably just miscopied my invoice. Well, if there's any more questions, because it takes a little while to restart my app, then feel free to ask.
Come on, guys. Any question? Usually they have a lot, but probably they have to like simulate all the numbers.
It actually pretty quick. So this is very hard always on the computer. Oh, but it is mixed case, so there's something weird going on with my invoice. Oh, this is the text like this is now. But need to get rid of this. Okay. There we go. Send the payment. Yeah, so it's basically just a couple of lines of code in order to do this. And might not work for sending the payment. It's probably just the demo gods torturing me for for doing this. Maybe it has already completed it. Just not seeing it. No, it should be. Oh, maybe I should just. Oh yeah, I've actually received the payment now. And there we go. We've sent the payment. 200 sat, 1 sat fee. And that was it. That was the demo. So let me go back to my presentation over here.
There is a question also probably before to again from Oscar.
Do you need access to the Greenlight repo? Is the question, right? Yeah. So Greenlight just open sourced, I think, 1 or 2 weeks ago. So you don't need to get access to the Greenlight repo because they are open source now as well. But what you do need is you need a Greenlight invite code. So if you want to work with these Greenlight nodes, then you need to contact Blockstream or Breez to get invite code for Greenlight, and you need an API key in order to use Breez's LSP services. So that's what you currently need. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let me just do some closing words, right? I think this could open up some amazing possibilities for the Lightning Network. It's really a breakthrough in interacting with the Lightning Network. It's become so easy to use this way. So if you are building an app that and it hasn't got Lightning payments yet, basically nothing is stopping you now, right? Everything we do is open source and free. You can find everything on GitHub. It's github.com/Breez. All the code we write is open source there, so the SDK, but also the Breez app and the LSP things. Everything is open source. So do take the code and change it, and or help out if you want to. And reach out if you're interested or there's something you want to know. We are very, very reachable through, for example, the Telegram channel, Breez Lightning, or just contact form on the website or on Twitter as well. Yeah.
It's wonderful. It was wonderful. Yeah, and I guess they'll need probably for the hackathon, the on-site hackathon they will have. It would be very nice to integrate Breez SDK on the projects they will do on the presential part, let's say. So yeah, here guys, yeah, you can find all the contacts, and you can use it for your project and next project. So thank you for the wonderful lecture and demo. I think it was very helpful for everybody.
It was fantastic. Like, I mean, just few lines.
Just a
And
few.
just
And it's
think,
non-custodial, yeah. So that's very important, right? You can integrate with custodian in a few lines, of course, but this is non-custodial stuff. So that's
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just excited for so many things that, I mean, you know, people here are gonna be able to build because they have like the right tools now. They're the ones using it, you know, like every day, and so it's gonna be so much more like faster development on things that are actually like user friendly and organically going to be picked up by the masses and and help to grow like those anything that they build, you know. And so amazing, thank you.
yeah. It's also if you're building custodial things, for example, then there's also a regulatory risk, right? Because it's not easy to run a custodian in the regulatory environments now. But
Well, regulation is like if it's Bitcoin, it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
that's
As a
legal
custodian,
tender. You can do anything, you know.
yeah,
If it's Bitcoin, you can do anything. It's
that's right.
just if there are only regulations if you like have like a bunch of money, like 5,000 more plus a day, like transactions, then you have to like do some disclosure of stuff. But you know, like for everyday usage, like if it's just Bitcoin,
Yeah,
it's free, you know.
it's free. Yeah, and the startup cost is zero as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but for custodial, yeah, that's true. Like also, I don't know in El Salvador, but in Europe probably it is a bit complicated for to provide custodial services, I guess, and will be much more complicated probably in the future with all this disaster happening
Here the
with it.
implementation with the banks is the problem, because you know when you're a bank you fear more other banks than your own government. So it doesn't matter that the government tells them that they should accept transactions coming from Bitcoin, or that they should accept Bitcoin. They care more about what the Federal Reserve says, because they are dollarized banks, and so that's their government, the Federal Reserve, and the other in the Swiss system. um so that's the only difficulty that they actually have, like the banks. they're
Yeah.
they're just banks, you know.
Exactly. So it's just create a peer-to-peer and circular economy
Yeah, as
where we
long as
don't
it's
touch
just
the
Bitcoin
environment.
between everybody else, it works.
This is the future, hopefully, the peer-to-peer circular economy, and I'm so grateful that Breeze is working hard to trying to achieve that. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat, like what of this functionality is only available as Android and iOS, etc. And what about web? That's a good question, and we're not ready for web yet. We need to have a like a WASM integration, so we need some stuff to be able to compile into WASM before we can use on web. So it is definitely on the roadmap to do that. But currently, you will need a native app, so it's not possible to use in the web right now. And that's because basically because these calls to Greenlight and also to the LSP services are currently using gRPC, and that's just not possible through the web standard. But it is possible in WASM. So, yeah.
Great. So yeah, guys, if you have no more question, we could yeah, let's finish here. Then Mario, you were telling anything?
No, that's okay. You know, the guys, I know firsthand that they're really excited about their presentation of the code of the program that they're going to give you like the 29th, right? Like the day you're coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that they are super excited to just rewatch this lecture many times until like they realize where to put each line and how to and all of that, so they can see if like if it works for themselves. And yeah,
Yeah, so there's also examples on GitHub, and so you can look there as well. And there's documentation, especially on the Rust project. There's a lot of documentation on what each function does. Yeah.
perfect. Then let's let them like go code, because like I know that they're like super into like that thing and they're a little bit scared thinking if
Exactly.
they're going to finish by Thursday or not.
Okay, cool.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jess. Was wonderful having you here. Great
Thanks for
presentation,
having me.
and yeah, thank you so much. And guys, we will meet tomorrow, always at 9. And remember to join the kit chat. Also, there is another comment here from Ricardo.
Okay, I just can't read it just now because there's something in the way. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just some comments, and yeah,
Yeah.
about the lecture. Thank you so much again, Jess. Have a nice rest of day, and yeah, see you probably in Viragio next time.
Yeah, if you're rich, all right. Okay, good luck, and good luck with your projects, everyone. I'm looking forward to see some of them in the real world later. Huh?
Yeah. hopefully yes. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jess. Bye, guys. Bye, Mario.
Thank you, yes. Ciao.